What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 9 of the Elephant Wire Podcast, the show where we break down song lyrics and don't play you a damn second of the song because major labels are thieving babies that would sue us up the ass. This week's episode, we're going to be dissecting the song Vices by fucking Slayer. Let's fucking get some.
Welcome to the Elephant Wire Podcast. Music, drugs, laughter, lyrics.
Welcome, one and all, to episode 9. How is everybody feeling out there? I am incredibly excited to get into this. Before we even begin, just because of the subject matter of the episode today, I would just like to start today's episode by saying, I love Slayer, but I would not call myself a fan. Now, that I know that sounds weird because I listen to Slayer a lot. Like, I would say 6 days a week I listen to fucking Slayer. I love Slayer. I love metal music. I am a fan of Goat Whore, Cattle Decapitation, Misery Index. Like, I fucking love metal music. However, I would not call myself a fan. And here's why. Because just like the Misfits, or Star Wars, or Clockwork Orange, or the Raiders in the NFL, there is a lifestyle that comes with that fanhood. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm a fan." It's a little more than that. To call yourself a fan of those things, it's beyond that. Now, even beyond just Slayer, it's metal music in general. That, like, I fucking love metal music, but I would not call myself a metalhead. I might refer to myself as an intro metalhead, but at the same time, I do things like when I grow my hair out super long and I look like a metalhead. The reason I did it was so I could cut it off and donate it. And, like, however metal that I might think that is, as far as metal is concerned, that's not very metal. I feel like I should just preface this entire episode. If you are actually a metalhead, I just want you to know right now, I'm going to do my absolute best. I'm going to completely stay away from trying to decipher genres of metal music because that's a recipe for disaster. I will leave that to the metalheads. But just, I say all that to say this. I wish I was more metal. It's just so much commitment. I wish I was an actual metalhead because it'd be so badass. I love metalheads and I love metal music. But I'm just not metal enough, guys. Maybe one day I'll be metal enough. You can't tell, but I'm like, my head's down and I'm like, just like kicking my foot in the dirt. One day I'll be metal. Anyway, Slayer. Holy shit. I am so fucking stoked about this episode today. Like I said before, I listen to Slayer constantly. And today, we are going to be discussing one of my absolute favorite Slayer songs, the song Vices. It comes off of the album Repentless, but we'll get to that. Let's start here. Slayer, thrash metal band from Huntington Park, California, formed in 1981. Now, they are no longer a band as of 2019, so they have ended their reign of fury, as we are going to refer to it. But in that time, from 1981 to 2019, Slayer released 12 studio albums, 2 live albums, a box set, 6 music videos, 2 EPs, and a cover album. That's what's up. Now, if you take the entire time, 1981 to 2019, that is a good chunk of time. That's a good amount of time. But when you really start to think about how much music that actually is and how much actually went into each of these albums, they were really, really fucking busy. Seeing as how Slayer toured incessantly the entire time. So the fact that they even found time to do these things is absolutely incredible. Now, the entire time that Slayer was a band, their lyrics, their album artwork, it covered a good range of topics, shall we say. Things such as murder, serial killers, torture, genocide, politics, human experiments, Satanism, hate crimes, terrorism, religion, anti-religion, Nazism, racism, war, prison. Everything that they have written about or their album artwork has depicted, because of all of these things, they have seen numerous album bans, numerous delays, lawsuits, criticism, religious groups, factions of all kinds. The general public, mind you, has never, ever, ever known what to do with Slayer. Now, the general public doesn't know what to do with metal music still to this day. But Slayer has seen a fair amount of backlash from the general public and especially from the Christian community. At one point, Al Gore's wife, Tipper Gore, wrote Slayer a letter asking them to stop playing their music, which, fuck off, Tipper. Stay in your lane. We're talking about fucking Slayer, the greatest thrash metal band of all time. Shut up. One of those numbers. But one of the biggest things that Slayer has had to deal with that they dealt with their entire career is they were constantly labeled as Nazi sympathizers. And I really wanted to address this right off the bat because I did a good amount of research on this, wanted to hear it from their mouths. Exactly what usually transpires in these situations. And one example that I'm going to use specifically is a song by Slayer called Angel of Death. And the song is about Joseph Mengele, or Mengele. It depends on which psychologist is talking on History Channel, because they all want to sound like the smartest, so they all pronounce names differently. So I actually know how it's pronounced. But it's a song about Joseph Mengele, who was a disgusting, literal human piece of garbage that was one of the higher ups, if not the highest up, of human experimentation at Auschwitz and just the Nazi Third Reich in general. He was very close to Adolf Hitler, one of his right-hand men, if you will. And the Slayer song Angel of Death discusses Joseph Mengele. It doesn't so much talk about how Joseph Mengele looks like Stephen Miller, one of Trump's cabinet. I'm pretty sure they're related or something. It's interesting how much they look alike and how much they act alike too. And just while we're on the topic, I'm going to throw a fuck Trump out there. Fucking piece of shit. Anywho, back at it. In an interview about the song Angel of Death, Jeff Hanneman made a statement in defense of the song saying, "I know why people misinterpret it. It's because they get this knee-jerk reaction to it. When they read the lyrics, there's nothing I put in the lyrics that says necessarily he was a bad man. Because to me, well, isn't that obvious? I shouldn't have to tell you that." Now, someone like myself, this makes perfect sense to me. If I started discussing Nazis with my friend right now, let's get Joe Baby over here, and Joe Baby and I start discussing Nazis, we would not need to preface constantly that, well, Nazis are bad, remember that. We both fucking know that Nazis are bad. Anyone with half a fucking brain knows that Nazis are bad. It's not that difficult. Anyone that would need to have it reinforced that Nazis are fucking useless dirtbags is part of the problem. And the term Nazi in its definition is the scum of society, the lowest form of human life and history of human beings. And they're synonymous. So someone saying that, Slayer didn't say they were bad, yet no one should have to say that they're bad. Someone should literally just be able to say, there's a fucking Nazi, and everyone in the room goes, hope they get hit by a fucking car. It's synonymous. Everyone knows what we're talking about here. And it's something like this that Slayer, just because of who they are and how they presented themselves, this is something that, they are obviously sympathizers. Not the case. I mean, in another parameter of this, I found at one point Tom Araya, the bass player of Slayer, when he was asked about the band's satanic involvements. He noted that really their reasoning was to scare the fuck out of all the Hollywood types in the metal scene. Talking about bands like Def Leppard, Kiss, Motley Crue, Twisted Sister, Whitesnake, all of those bands back, in 1981 when Slayer was first getting started, that they all wore makeup and sexual outfits. Slayer wanted to be the ugly side of metal. They wanted to straight up look like Outkast. They did, in the early days, Slayer did do some eye makeup and they did some things like that, but it looked terrible. And they did it on purpose because they didn't want to look like the sexy rock god. They wanted to look disgusting. And what better way to alienate yourself from the people that this is their mantra, this is their go-to, is to look like that sex idol. What did Slayer do? They started involving satanic imagery and lyrics and topics and referencing it every now and again. And the general public lost their fucking minds because what is less accessible to the America, if you will? What is less accessible to the American conscious than Satan? I mean, for real. Like, even people that are atheists out there would not say, "Oh, hail Satan." Now, I personally, I grew up Christian. I understand everything. I don't know what I would refer to myself today. That's why I have no problem saying hail Satan, because the guy doesn't fucking exist, so it doesn't really fucking matter. But at all of this, these are things that Slayer's entire career that they had to deal with. On Slayer's third album, Rain in Blood, is described as the heaviest, most influential thrash metal album of all time. I mean, this is their third studio album. You know, way, way, way back in the day when the band first met, I mean, throughout the course of the band's life, they had a steady flow of members, especially drummers, coming in and out. Some guys playing for the second time, left again. They had a steady flow of members, but there were three cats that were in the band the entire time, that the entire progress of the band were there from beginning to end, and that is Tom Araya, who was on bass, Kerry fucking King on guitar, and Jeff Hanneman, also on guitar. They are the three original members that stayed in the band the whole way through. And the three of these guys, they all had a very similar take, is that going back to the Nazi thing again, I was watching an interview with Kerry fucking King, and he was talking about the song Rain in Blood. I believe. No, that's the album. He was talking about the song Angel of Death, the song we were talking about a little bit ago. He was talking about that song about Joseph Mengele, and he was saying that they all found it so fucking stupid how much flack that they caught over that song, because they were even saying themselves, like, if you just took the lyrics of this song, you took Slayer away from it, you took all the imagery, the album art, all that away, you just the lyrics of that song, it could be the narration for a History Channel documentary. But the second you put Slayer's name on it, you put Kerry fucking King on guitar, you put Tom Araya singing it, all of a sudden now we got Nazi sympathizers. And that's the difference, is because it's the projection of an image. You know, the logo for Slayer, whatever it may be. At no point were the guys in Slayer ever Nazi sympathizers. They would be some of the first to be like, if there's any Nazis that listen to Slayer, they can go fuck themselves. But these cats, the whole way through, 1981 to 2019, the whole way through, they were there. They were in the thick of it, and they were putting up with this. However, at the same time, the band was nominated for 5 Grammys, and they won 2 of them. So they also saw a good amount of accolade as they went through their career. 4 of the band's studio albums have received gold certification in the United States, which is incredible. They've gone gold 5 times. Now, our song that we're discussing today comes off the album Repentless. Repentless is their 12th and final studio album for Slayer, and it was released on September 11th, 2015, and it is the only album recorded without guitarist and founding member Jeff Hanneman. Jeff Hanneman passed away of liver cirrhosis in 2013. I would just like to throw out rest his soul to Jeff Hanneman. He will be missed in the music community, the guitar community, the songwriting community, and especially in the metal community. This is like losing a patron saint almost. Jeff Hanneman was one of the greatest metal musicians of all time, and to lose him to liver cirrhosis, it was tough for the metal community. However, the album that we're speaking about today is the only album that Jeff Hanneman is not on. Now, the band replacing Jeff Hanneman on this album, they got Gary Holt of the band Exodus to replace him on guitar. However, he was not involved in the songwriting process whatsoever as Jeff had been, because Jeff, Kerry fucking King, and Tom were all very much so, the three of them, all writing songs and bouncing ideas off of each other and utilizing each other's ideas and using each other's creative criticisms and things of this nature. So this is the only album that Jeff is not on. This is the only album that was exclusively written by Kerry fucking King and Tom Araya. Now, before Repentless, their 12th and final studio album, the last album that they had released was the album World Painted Blood in 2009. So there was a gap between 2009 and 2013 when Jeff passed away, and there's conflicting stories of whether or not there was an album in the works or whether things were about to happen. However, losing Jeff Hanneman, the band needed a second to kind of collect themselves. So from 2009 to 2000. Okay, let me start that again. From 2009 to 2013, when Jeff passed away in 2013, let's call that one bit of the break. The second part of that break would be after Jeff passing away to 2015, whenever Repentless was released. So to say that they hadn't released an album from 2009 to 2015, it doesn't actually kind of reflect where the band was at the time. It's almost two different eras, if you will. But the album Repentless, it had 3 singles that were released on that album. Track 2, which is the name of the album, Repentless. Track 11, You Against You, which is a fucking dope song. And track 12, Pride and Prejudice, were the 3 singles that were released on that album. It debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200, which was the highest charting debut from Slayer in the United States in their entire career, debuting at number 4. And it also topped the charts in Germany and was featured in the top 10 in 20 charts around the world. So their 12th and final album, after being a band since 1981, we fast forward all the way, they're still fucking topping the charts. And it's also really crazy too to think that a band that is so, that their entire career, they caught so much shit from so many different communities, from Republicans, Christians, factions of, moral majorities and whatever you want to fucking call it, to whenever it really boils down to it, they were killing it the entire time. Absolutely fucking phenomenal. One little factoid I wanted to throw out there, that this is actually the only album that Slayer released on the record label Nuclear Blast. It's an independent record label that has released artists like Anthrax and Danzig, fucking Sabaton, As I Lay Dying. I mean, Nuclear Blast has released some legit folks. Now, whenever I was referencing earlier how many times that Slayer has had, albums that have been delayed, or a refusal to release, or places refusing to sell the album because of the artwork or the songs on it, there have been equally, if not more, times where in the release of an album, whether it be Sony, whether it be someone else, that refuses to put their name on it, so they forced one of their umbrella, one of the other little underlings to release it so that their name's not on it. They're still getting plenty of money off of it because that's the whole point. Because major labels are thieving babies that sue people up the ass. That's all they fucking care about. They don't give a shit about music. So multiple times too, these giant shells have stepped back, kept their name off of the album, let someone else take the heat. This is one of those situations where Nuclear Blast, an independent label, released Slayer's 12th and final album. After the album was released, Slayer toured for 2.5 years on the album Repentless. And after more than 3 decades of recording and performing and killing it and being literally, in my opinion, and I apologize before the episode even started, but Slayer announced in January of 2018 that it would embark on a farewell tour which took place from May 2018 to November 2019, after which the greatest thrash metal band of all time disbanded. And that brings us to today. And like I said, I apologize that I wouldn't make statements like that to piss off the metalhead community. If I have, I apologize. I know you've already turned this off, so I don't know who I'm actually apologizing to, but I just got to say it just so I can say that I said it. That's all I got to say. But let's start boiling it down to the song. The song itself, Vices, is track 4 on the album of 12 songs. It is 3 minutes, 32 seconds long. And it's really funny because whenever I started to read some of the reviews that the album Repentless got, there were 3 or 4 times where I read something to the effect of, like, just another Slayer album. And the first time I read it, I was like, well, they didn't review it very well. And then I read it again somewhere else. And then I read yet a third review where they were basically saying, well, Repentless is just another Slayer album. And I started thinking to myself, isn't that kind of the fucking point? I mean, isn't that basically like Slayer from beginning to end was Slayer? At no point did they need to reinvent themselves. At no point did they allow outside stimuli to affect what they were doing. At no point did they change what they were about. They were Slayer from the beginning to the end. They were it's also my very humble opinion that the song Vices that we're talking about today is one of those songs that is the epitome of Slayer. It's thrash metal, it's guitar, the lyrics are dope, it's heavy, it's fucking awesome. It's the epitome of Slayer. This is what you want. You want chugging along. You want Kerry fucking King shredding your face. This is what you want out of Slayer. You want Tom Araya pissed off, singing about how society sucks. This is what you want out of Slayer. This is everything you want. And so whenever I read reviews about this album or about this song, whenever I see things that, well, just another fucking Slayer album, yeah, awesome. That's what we fucking wanted. And the song itself has one of the more straightforward breakdowns for a Slayer song. Now, obviously, Kerry fucking King goes wild. He does what Kerry fucking King does. And if any of you are curious out there, that's actually what the man is referred to. His name is Kerry King. But for probably about 2 decades now, his name has been synonymous with Kerry fucking King. That's what he goes by. Sunglasses, bald head, great fucking, just super cool guy. But I feel like at this point, to really exhaust the song itself and any setup of what we have going on would not do service to the song itself. So here we go. Let's fucking get into it. Stop and think of society's impotence and the reason behind its incompetence. Faith in God is the vice. Bring on the tyranny. Won't be long till you find the real irony. Life drags on, and we watch it bleed. On controversy and madness we feed. It's a rush you can't deny. A little violence is the ultimate drug. Let's get high. Politician that claims to be innocent sells you peace, then defies you with his insolence. Greed and power his vices. Give him what he seeks. Manipulate and divide, forever lead the weak. Life drags on, and we watch it bleed. On controversy and madness we feed. It's a rush you can't deny. A little violence is the ultimate drug. Let's get high. You've been powerless to your vices. Self-control defies you. When nothing else quite suffices, your demons will destroy you. Holy man portrays the face of purity, hiding behind a shroud of vanity. Pure lust is his vice, a sickness to defile. God becomes a device to hide the pedophile, and life drags on, and we watch it bleed. On controversy and madness we feed, it's a rush you can't deny. A little violence is the ultimate drug, let's get high. So fucking high. Let's get high. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Fucking Slayer. Vices. Whew. I don't know if you guys are ready. I would refer to myself as being ready at this moment, but I don't even know. I don't even know if I'm ready, because let's start to actually dive into this. A vice or vices is an immoral or wicked behavior. A vice can also be determined as a practice, a behavior, a habit. It's considered generally to be immoral or sinful or criminal or rude. Taboo might even be one. Depraved, degrading. Whenever you're talking about associated within the bounds of society, that would be a vice, right? Vices are also usually associated with a transgression in someone's person, or within someone's character, or their temperament, rather than their morality. So there's a lot of things that are actually going on in the usage of the word vice or vices. What are we actually talking about? Now, we're going to let the actual lyrics of this song, we're actually going to let them be our context, and then we'll start to actually understand what we're talking about. So we got our very first line. Stop and think of society's impotence. First line of the song, we have a clear-cut command. Stop and think of society's impotence. Whatever you're doing right now, shut the fuck up, sit down, stop what you're doing. Think about society's impotence, just for a second. Just think about it. Impotence itself can be defined as an inability to take effective action. Now, if you're anything like me, when I hear the word impotence, I just think about a dude that can't get it up. I think ED, that's what comes to my mind. Impotent. Some dude that just he's having issues downstairs. But impotence can also be, an inability to take effective action. Helplessness, which, when you start to kind of put them together, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. So whenever you say stop and think of society's impotence, what he's actually saying is look at society's inability to even help itself. Look at its inability to take action. We're stagnant. We're impotent. We can't even help ourselves. We're wallowing. And the next line is, and the reason behind its incompetence. Now, incompetence is obviously an inability inability to, let's just say ineptitude. Let's just call it being inept is incompetence. So now to consider a society that has no ability to take necessary action to progress, because due to its inability to do anything successfully. So this is quite our first couple lines here are literally a stab and twist scenario is what we actually have on our hands right now. We go to our next line. Faith in God is the vice. Bring on the tyranny. Won't be long till you find the real irony. Now, it's interesting wordplay here because, like we were just saying, that vices are usually immoral, sinful, criminal behavior in the human existence. So to use faith in God as the example of a vice in human life is out of the norm, to say the least. Following up the statement, won't be long till you find the real irony, that second line there, is the basis of the statement about the tyranny they're referencing. So the irony is the fact that faith in God should bring about freedom of mind and spirit. However, all too often, it brings about authoritarian rule and bondage. People so focused on life in heaven and the afterlife that they create hell on earth. This is what he's saying. It won't be long till you find the real irony. At some point in this life or the next, it will click in that the bonds of this ridiculous vice in God has become the tyranny that they are so convinced that they are escaping from. And then we get into our chorus, life drags on and we watch it bleed. I mean, it's almost like that society is this oozing cyst of a wound that's just constantly losing life. Just a consistent, life drags on and we watch it bleed. There's, like we were talking about in the very first lines, our incompetence and our inability to do anything successful, our inability to create change and progress. It's just dragging on and we're watching it bleed. On controversy and madness we feed. If this does not sum up 2020, I don't know what the fuck does. Seriously, on controversy and madness we feed, families are torn apart. Friendships have been torn apart. Communities have been torn apart. All over ideology. Every single bit of it. Ideology. Are you going to wear a mask? Or are you going to not? Are you an anti this? Are you a pro that? Fucking madness. And we feed on it. Turn on the fucking news. We feed on it. Turn on a TV show. We feed on madness. It's a rush you can't deny. I mean, that's the next line after that we feed on it. It's a rush. It really is. It's exciting at the very least. Because we end each chorus with the statement, a little violence is the ultimate drug, let's get high. Now, I don't know if any of you out there have ever been in a fist fight, and I'm not saying go punch someone in the face so you can feel this feeling, but the adrenaline rush of being in a fight, a little violence, I can see how that could get a little bit addicting as a drug. I mean, to the high off of that, because violence is obviously a rush. It's obviously a rush. When we argue, when we physically fight, when we fuck, violence is this drug that it's very tough to shake. And honestly, it's natural. Adrenaline is a natural thing that our bodies create. And so when we get ourselves all fucking worked up, why not? Now, obviously, in this setting, because of the verse that we just talked about, like I said, we're going to let the song itself decide our context. In this context of the verse we were just talking about, this is more so talking about the violence brought about by religious war. Christians being bigots, Islamophobia, demanding war to appease their own insecurities. That is what this is talking about. Because we just saw in the last verse, faith in God is the vice, bring on the tyranny. Life drags on and we watch it bleed. This is a continuation of the statement. And it's not until we get to verse 2 that it's almost like going to the next chapter. So in verse 2, politician that claims to be innocent. I can't believe that this song wasn't written in 2020. I really can't, because find a politician out there that doesn't do this every time they open their fucking mouth. You can show a politician a video of themselves saying the exact opposite of what they're saying now, and they will try to say that the media always tries to spin them as this different person. Like, no, you spin yourself as 30 different people, asshole. I'm not defending the media by any way, shape, or form at all. There's a lot of really shitty media outlets out there. But my point is, because of the context we're on right now, politician that claims to be innocent sells you peace, then defies you with his insolence. So insolence is someone who is a rude, disrespectful, like they said, selling peace, then they instantly go back on their word, rudely, disrespectfully forcing an issue of war. Oh, I'm going to bring the troops home. Oh, I want to unite America. Oh, I would love to reach out to other nations. Fucking 6 months into office, that country has oil. Hey, Christians, they're Muslims. We should bomb them, right? Cool. And now we have war again. It's really not that fucking difficult for them. They don't even have to try. But when you really actually look at it, it's insolence. It's rude. It's disrespectful. They've won over the people with lies, claiming to be innocent the entire time. And when was the last time we weren't at war? Just to put that into perspective. When was the last time that we were not at war? Okay? Any time between 1776 And now, there is a 91% chance, pick any year in between there's a 91% chance that America was at war at some time during that calendar year. Not one U.S. president qualifies as a peacetime president. Instead, every single U.S. president technically is considered a war president. The U.S. has never gone a decade without war. The only time the U.S. went 5 years without war was from 1935 to 1940, and it was during an isolationist period, or basically the Great Depression was going on, so we didn't have enough money to drop bombs. I mean, how fucking disgusting is that? To think 91% of the time that America has been around since 1776, we've been at war. And you're going to tell me that the next guy that's coming along won't do the same fucking thing? It's absolutely putrid. It absolutely is. And we look at the next line here in verse 2. Greed and power, his vices, give him what he seeks, manipulate and divide, forever lead the weak. That's what we were just fucking talking about, telling a Christian, oh, the Muslims have oil. Like, well, they can't have that. God needs that. It's really not even that difficult for them. Forever lead the weak, the feeble-minded. The amount of divide between people we see today is absolutely calculated. If you don't think it is, it absolutely is. Never refer to a politician as an idiot. This is the equivalent of someone shooting somebody executioner style and getting charged with involuntary manslaughter. To call a politician an idiot. So you call them out on their action of what they've done, but then to say they're an idiot is exactly that. They've shot someone executioner style, and then we charge them with involuntary manslaughter. This is not the case. They are not idiots. Every single fucking thing they do is calculated. Every single fucking thing they do, they know what they're doing. And it's because greed and power are what they seek to manipulate and divide. They will always be in charge because they lead the weak. And we go into another chorus of life drags on and we watch it bleed. Controversy and madness we feed. A little violence is the ultimate drug. Let's get fucking high. Politicians get straight up high off of their ability to push a button that would wipe out a country with carpet bombs. With a carpet bomb. And not dropping carpets. That'd be kind of cool. It'd be a change of pace. But I think you see my point. I mean, a governor being able to make one phone call to stop a wrongful execution of an innocent man, and he doesn't. Just put yourself in the room, looking at a governor who, by picking up a phone, making one phone call, can literally save the life of a wrongfully convicted individual, and doesn't. That is the kind of person. So to expect them to be anything other than the bottom feeders of society as far as class is concerned, as far as respect is concerned, is beyond ridiculous. It is naive on our part. And we go into what would be, I don't know what to call it, verse 3, breakdown, whatever we want to call it. But we go into this and it says, you've been powerless to your vices. Self-control defies you. And now Tom is turning the mirror toward us, the listener, the appreciator, the person who's been sitting here going, yeah, get them. Yeah, fuck them. He turns it on us and he says, you've been powerless to your vices. Self-control defies you. He's calling us out. He's saying, who the hell are we to point the finger? And he keeps going on and says, when nothing else quite suffices, your demons will destroy you. What's a great example of this? I'm a smoker. If I don't quit smoking, it's going to kill me. And that's how it works. When nothing else quite suffices, your demons destroy you. That's the long and short of it. Now, what's also really funny, I actually wouldn't even call smoking my vice. I would call caffeine my vice, if I really had to be honest. Because when I wake up in the morning, okay, I go to bed, wake up in the morning, I can probably go, if I needed to, I could probably go 3 hours without a cigarette before I got like violent cranky. I can go about 22 minutes without a pot of coffee. And I'll probably smack someone in the fucking face. And even in the moment, I would figure out some way to reason away in my mind that it was their fault. To be honest, caffeine is my fucking vice. Now, is it anywhere near as danger as an imminent danger as smoking? No, it's not. And I say this almost to just kind of bring some light into this, because this is one of our heavier lyrics breakdowns that we've done. How could it not be? It's fucking Slayer. It's thrash metal. It's awesome. We got one more verse to get into here, and this is a big one, friends. This is a big one. Holy man portrays the face of purity. Now, before we really get any further, let's just stop on this line itself. Holy man portrays the face of purity. Because he does not say that the holy man is the face of purity. He says portrays. What he's referencing here is the clothing of a priest or a pastor. You know, they present themselves as this pious individual, this holier than thou. And he follows that up by saying, hiding behind a shroud of vanity. So the robes, the collars, you know, it's all a whitewashed ivory tower front. None of it has anything to do with life. None of it has anything to do with the success of society. None of it has anything to do with the unification of worlds, of seeing the unity of people. None of it. It has everything to do with the fact that I am a man of God. I am a holy man, and I portray purity. They don't even have to do anything. They don't have to change a goddamn thing about their ways or their lifestyle. As long as they portray purity, people fall in line. And then we look at where they're actually going with this. Pure lust is his vice, a sickness to defile. Saying they're literally sick in the head for their desire to defile through sexual exploitation, through lust. And it's absolutely sickening to think the evil ways of lust from a priest or youth pastors preying upon young and innocent for their need for defilement. Because they portray that face of purity, they then are given the opportunity in so many situations where their prey lets their guard down. Because they portray purity. Why would they have any other intention? It is fucking disgusting. And we keep going along. God becomes a device to hide the pedophile. Now, in my youth, I went to church every fucking Sunday. I can't even tell you how many times the church protected a pedophile. I've seen it happen so many times. Whether it be relocating a church member for raping or impregnating a girl, which I'll give you a name of one if anyone wants to find him online. His name's Chuck Phelps. He was the pastor of a church. One of his deacons raped a girl in the youth group. She got pregnant. Chuck Phelps, the pastor of this church, made her get up in front of the church and apologize for being pregnant out of wedlock. Fucking disgusting. Christian church camps, summer camps for kids, hiring a known child sex offender because God had forgave him, therefore everything's okay. God becomes a device to hide the pedophile. And this one, more than ever, life drags on and we watch it bleed. What the fuck are we supposed to do to get this to stop? Who do we talk to? Who do we convince? Because at the same time, on controversy and madness we feed. There's a verse in the Bible that says they hate you because they first hated me. So if we walk into a church and say, how can you possibly defend pedophiles? All they're going to say is, how dare you go against God? There is no reasoning. There's no reasoning to be had. And at the same time, on both sides of that argument, it's a rush that neither of us can deny. If I was to walk into a church this coming Sunday and start screaming at the congregation about how they're hiding behind a shroud of purity and that God protects pedophiles as far as they're concerned, they are going to be equally as pumped up to defend their ideals. A little violence is the ultimate drug. Let's get high. So fucking high. And I know the high that chaos brings about, and the excitement of a fist fight, and the feeling of superiority that degrading another human being brings about. I understand this, but it isn't a pure high. It's not. This isn't a high to be chased, unless your goal is to be a professional boxer. Or you're hosting a roast for Republican dickhole senator. You know, I mean, that's the only time in which this high should be chased. If you're a boxer, you are a roast master. You know, vices exist because the human experience is a constant battle between flesh and spirit. We are at odds with our own body, and our mind and soul begs for the opposite outcome that the other needs. And this is the human experience. This is what every single human being on the planet goes through. The body and the spirit constantly in battle of who will win. In an example, my mind knows that cigarettes will kill me. My body, however, ignores my mind and desires a cigarette. This is how it fucking works. These are vices. Vices are our battle to fight, to overcome. However, in the parameters of this song that we've just discussed, and in its content, it is even more so our job to never buy into the lies and deceit for those with such violent vices. The politician, the religious man, the pedophile. They can beg all they like, but in the end, they will receive no mercy. We all know that what goes around comes around. And sometimes that sounds a lot better on paper than what we see. But there's no way that the human experience can be anything other than that. This does not mean that just because a politician lied this week, that next week that they're going to get assassinated. That is not my point at all. That is erroneous. That's ridiculous. My point is that what goes around will come around. And like vices, that will be our end, that will be our demise. So the politician, the pedophile, the religious man, they've made a career out of preying on the weak. In the end, they will be the weak that are preyed upon. And that's my take. That's Slayer Vices. That's all I got. And I don't know about you guys. I got a little hard there a couple times. That was fun. That was a big one. That was heavy. But it is now officially time for our local band Spotlight. That's what I'm fucking talking about. And this week, we have a dope fucking band. Angelic Desolation is our band of the week. I searched high and low, trying to find the perfect band for this episode, Slayer, and I found them. A death metal band with a full-scale sonic assault and a sound unique enough to call their own. American Razor Grind. Emerging from Denver, Colorado's fruitful metal scene, Angelic Desolation. Oh my God. I am so sorry, boys. I'm going to do that one more time. Emerging from Denver, Colorado's fruitful metal scene, Angelic Desolation is ready to take the world by storm, or slit the throats in the name of Satan, whichever opportunity comes first. This band's combination of grind, thrash, and death metal paired with an outrageous horror-themed stage antics makes for a musical presentation that audiences won't soon forget. Fresh off the release of their latest EP, Quorum of Unspeakable Curses, this blasphemous outfit has nowhere to go but up. Reviewers say those that are privy to tech death, death metal, or death grind are going to eat this up. They promise... Yeah, they... Oh my God. I am so sorry. This is so fucking metal. And this is, I started the episode with this. This is why I will never be metal. This is why I'll never be a metalhead. Because I can pose for like a few minutes, but when it really comes out, I'm a big, dumb, stupid goofball is what I am. They promise 2020 and beyond will bring more gore, more rage, and even more merciless riffs. That's what I'm fucking talking about. Check them out on Spotify. These guys are legit. American Razor Grind is the vein of metal music that they have given themselves. And I love that. Slit the throats in the name of Satan. That's so fucking metal. God, that's cool. I love these guys. A blasphemous outfit, they say. Fuck yeah. But that's about all I got for today, friends. Check out Angelic Desolation. Support local music. They need our support. Do what you can. Follow them on Instagram. Check them out on Spotify. That's what's up. As far as our podcast as well, thank you so much for those of you who are supporting us. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much that means to us. As things continue to go and more people begin to find out what we actually have going on here at the Elephant Wire podcast, it has truly been humbling to see how people have supported us. And I just wanted to take a second and just say thank you very much to those of you who support us. I cannot stress enough how important that has been and how much it has meant to the podcast. So thank you very much. If you are interested in supporting the podcast yourself, go to anchor.fm/The Elephant Wire podcast. You can support us in a multitude of ways. As I said, we are incredibly appreciative of those who already do. If you're considering it, it would mean the fucking world to us. Thank you so much. At the very least, hit us up on Instagram, follow us. On our Facebook page, The Elephant Wire Podcast. We have Twitter. We got literally fucking everything out there. If you want to find us, we got one. I'm pretty sure we have a fucking Tumblr, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know why. I've never posted anything on Tumblr. I don't know what a tumble is. But that's about all I got today, friends. It was good to have you here. Talk about some fucking Slayer, some thrash metal. So as always, fuck the man. Hail Satan. Hug your mom. We'll see you guys next week. Peace. Oh, and fuck Donald Trump too. That piece of shit can go fuck himself.